Trenton's finest DJ. Trenton Grooming.
Yo, it's your boy, Just Global Unlimited Podcast. We back. Y'all know we got to play the theme song. Now, I mean, Trenton Groomy. You know what I'm saying? So I had to make sure I had this thing set up right for today because I got a special guest on it, as always. But this man actually don't need an introduction, but I'm giving one anyway. So
no doubt.
It's your brother and mine, you know what I'm saying? Activist, teacher, right?
Yeah, we do some teaching.
Teacher. You work in the school system as far as the board and everything?
No, not from a board position, but I go in and do some consulting and like after school programming, critical thinking, Black history, lot of work we do. We'll get into it.
Then politician, local politician. Yeah, I mean, like I said, this man on the introduction, you know what I'm saying? But your boy and mine's been saying, I got here today, Mr. Darren Freedom Green. What's going on with you?
You got it, bro. You got it. What's going on?
Hanging in there,
no
man.
doubt.
It's been a while since I had you interview.
Yeah.
Last time we interviewed you actually was a few years ago. We was doing this thing called Video Ave.
I remember.
Down at 219 on East Hanover.
Wow. Now that's going back.
That's going back. Yeah.
And let's start there. You know, we were talking a few weeks ago on social media, and they were talking about Will Casso. You know what I mean? And how and people got into an argument about what the mayor said or what the North Ward councilwoman said.
In regards to Will Casso?
Yeah, well, they're doing some work around there now where 219 used to be.
Right. I seen that on the boy Elijah. He's involved in that.
Exactly. Shout out to my campaign manager, Elijah Dixon, amazing individual, doing his work around there as well. Exactly. Collaborating with community people to build an infrastructure, an institution where he has a storefront, and is going to be doing some great work around it right across the street from the school. But shout out to them. But my point here was comments were made, and I didn't see it. I didn't hear or see them, so I don't want to speak to them. But the point was almost people were discussing why Casso left and went to Connecticut. The reality of it is we have amazing jewels here. You know that. We have people who are artists, who are entertainers, who do work in all spectrums of life. And what happens is because they're birthed here and live here and build here, we don't revere, protect, and preserve them.
Exactly.
And we beat them up economically, we beat them up psychologically, and they end up leaving physically because there's no love in the place they was put.
And that's a tradition, like I said, tradition, but that's an ongoing thing with people from Trenton, because they grew up here. They go on and get better educations and stuff like that, get a trade or even, develop a skill, or art, instead of, them coming home and building their home up because they don't get treated right. For example, Will Casso, when it's time for, I'm put it on a financial point of view, because when it's time for him to get paid certain things because the work he put in, they want to pay him, but they rather go to outside sources and pay them.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? He does, if not the same thing, even better work.
He does better work. And then the other thing that Casso does, he brings a level of commitment because he's birthed here and he's inspirational to the community. Let me build on a little bit. There were a few more murals done through the TDA. And the TDA paid out in excess on a couple of occasions, $25,000 to $50,000 to other artists who weren't from here. Now you imagine giving Casso and that crew, Sage Coalition, that kind of money, right? Number one, the projects are going to be epic, right? But then the other piece is Casso is going to invest in the artists who are here. He's going to invest in the babies who are here. And he's going to beautify not only minds and lives, but the psychological well-being of the people.
Another fact, only the thing, he brings the art itself with him ahead of that. He was able to bring people together from different genres of life.
Right.
I'm not sure if he made it down there, but he had the Woo event.
I remember.
And I mean,
painted that Woo project.
Yeah. It was like 12, 11 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the morning. And you see all types of people out there.
Right. But let's go even further, right? The comments made about where they built in 219, think about what that used to be around the Gandhi Garden. Right? Yeah. Now you had, let's just be real, me and you build on truth. that's one of the heaviest drug areas in the city.
Yo.
Right? You had literally zombies walking around here. Now, Collar Biz, Casso, Sage Coalition, all the crew went around there and staked their claim in that building, but even better, building the community. Yes. They built that garden, and you had zombies, man, taking care of the garden.
Listen, man,
you had
the level of respect down there was ridiculous, bro.
Right.
Now, if you came down there to work with them or build them, and the residents out there see you come through there on a regular basis, like I'm not from there, I go there on a regular basis. They see me with one of them, or know I'm down there to showed with love. Them, showed me love.
Right. And you had a community, right, which is what they never gave Casso and College Biz all the credit for. Right. They built community where people around there who were living and struggling with some heavy demons cleaned and refined that area.
They kept it clean
because they saw it as theirs. Yeah. They were able to eat from that garden. They were able to take care of that area. Now imagine, not knocking no political figures, we're not even gonna do that. Imagine if the city government went around and invested in those individuals. That's how you transform communities. Exactly. Imagine if you go around there, put Casso number on, allow them to live, exist, and build in 219, and be able to have the economic ability, right, to take care of themselves and their families and that community. It changes now. But what we expected was them to perform miracles with crumbs. It don't happen like that. Right. And
that's always the case, though.
Right, but look at him now. He goes to another area right on the planet, is doing the same kind of work.
Cold up there.
And but the reality of it is, look how they're taking care of him. Why? They respect his talent.
Right.
See what I'm saying? So oftentimes the Bible speaks that the prophet will never be respected in his home circumference. And that's what happens here.
Same thing with Jesus.
Right.
He was rejected by the Jews.
He'd be rejected. But when you go other places, people who only know of you, don't know you, but know of you based on your talent, your resume, and what you manifested, they support and invest in you immediately because they see it. He come here and they want him to teach 9,000 babies for $3. Come on, man. You know what I'm saying? And then we critique him for leaving. If we would have took care of him as a jewel that he is, he would have stayed.
I mean, actually, I did it myself several times when I started doing the showcases here in Trenton at Maxine's at one point in time. And then when they shut down, you know what I mean? I was like, well, I'm gonna go now.
Right.
All the venues around the area were shutting down.
Right.
So I had to take my business outside to Philly for like 2 or 3 years.
Right.
Until I was able to come back home with something.
Right.
And it's, you know.
But how many people do that? You know what I mean? You were intentional with coming back here.
Oh, yeah.
But a lot of times when you leave, you're so well taken care of. You spread your wings and lay your foundation there.
Yeah, keep moving,
He's living now in another state. Wow. He was able to go there. His talent is valued. His work is being respected and revered. And he actually can have peace of mind. Exactly. You know what I mean? I don't deal with that. And I was laughing. My man had on the radio. He was like, nah, we don't do the starving artist thing. And I was like, that's peace. We got to talk about that. Because what happens is a lot of times artists in this field, right, are always painted in terms of a picture that they're supposed to be starving. Yeah. Nah, man. If you got government agencies, institutions, and just nonprofits, you know, people who are investing in great talent, then we don't need no starving artists, man. You can always be inclined to go back and support and appreciate and empower the poor, but you don't have to be poor to be a poor righteous teacher.
Nah, you don't. I mean, because like I said, there's government agencies out there,
right,
out there, there's grants out there,
right?
Because like what he does is funding for it,
right?
You know what I'm saying?
But you know what the other piece is? We have to do. This is something I learned when I started going to county freeholders meetings. We have to do a better job working with city government to train up artists. Right. And what I mean by that is how to write proposals, because they don't know. Because when these specs come out, you know, and you have to RFP and all that, you need to know the process. You need to have
wording and everything.
Right, not just that, but you need to also you need to have you know, an LLC so that you can apply for these things. And I think we don't do enough building of builders on how to build. So you already know the bottom part of the 8th in terms of supreme principles is what? Destroy. Exactly. So if you're not learning the enhancement of self, family, community, and building, then you're more inclined to destroy. So now we go back to the education system, because some of these things it should be learned. They should in the high school level, right? You know what I'm saying, how to start your business, how to how to go out down there and file your paperwork, right? I mean, all that should be learned at a high school level, because a lot of these kids they're not going to college. No doubt. You know what I mean? Well, I will say this. My brother Bruce Boyd from Boyd, right, is doing some work with the amazing principal at the 9th grade academy, DeWar Wood. Right. So he's doing entrepreneurial, financial literacy. Those are the components that need to be taught. So we don't
come at an early age.
Right, at the early age, so they begin to not perpetuate poverty with poor quality mentalities, but better start to own ownership of being entrepreneurs, of being walking brands, of being walking businesses. Like for me, I'm Darren Freedom Green, you know, but I am a walking brand. I am a walking business. So you have to learn to move and operate as such. And if you don't, you'll come out of two avenues. One, you'll be a builder or you'll be a beggar. And if you're not learning how to build, you're going to beg. You know what I mean? And that's the reality of what we have to do. So shout out to those that are impacting. Again, Principal DeWar Wood, the 9th grade academy on Perry Street, and my brother Bruce Boyd teaching financial literacy so the babies learn. How do you know this is needed? They're still building check cash in places in Trenton. So if they're still doing that, that means there's still a population of people who don't know better. You don't know better, you can't do better.
Exactly. If you're not being taught, you know what I'm saying, you're going to be lost for the rest of your life.
No doubt.
So speaking of the school system, we got a brand new high school this year.
No doubt.
Finally.
I
mean, I tell everybody, like, I'm jealous. I'm envious.
Right.
I mean, I haven't done the tour yet, but my wife did.
Okay.
It was so amazing.
It's amazing.
I spoke to Devon because he does the fitness over there as well.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And they said it's so amazing.
It's state of the art. And again, shout out to she doesn't get the credit she deserves, Principal Hope Grant.
Yeah, the principal,
amazing woman, amazing black woman, and has been fighting this fight. And I'm not saying that by herself, but she's the embodiment of the movement that put this in place. She allowed me to be on the SLT, school leadership team.
Right.
And I was actually in the meetings with the groups, the SDA, who built the school. So when you talk about from the blueprints, before we even touched the ground, we were a part of that process. The murals, the setup, the logistics.
The clock, though, they did away with the clock.
They still have that. A lot of the relics they still have. They're just trying to figure out where to strategically place them in the school, or if they're going to do a museum to hold those archives, because they actually have some of the marble stuff still saved. A lot of the archaic stuff.
Our school was over 100 years old.
Actually. Yeah, the schools now are over 100 years old. Because I do a lot of the graduation speeches, and the parent, you've been there, the parents in the auditorium or the cafeteria or wherever we hold it, it's over 100 degrees in there when I do them speeches. So I let them know I'm gonna give you a jewel and we out of here. But the point is, the same atrocities and reality that's in Trenton High that made us want a new high school need to be in the middle schools and all the schools throughout the district. That's not knocking nobody. That's just saying we won one fight, but now we have another fight. Because the whole purpose
we won the battle, but the war is still going on.
Right, because everything that makes you excited about the new high school should make you that invigorated to fight for newer middle schools. Because other than MLK and Columbus and my girl, Miss Paula Bethea at Kilmer, the other schools are still 100 years old.
Well, the one on East State Street is pretty new too, though.
PJ Hill. Okay. But the majority of the schools are over 100 years old.
Middle schools like G1, G5, junior schools.
Are old relics. So that means the same thing that was in Trenton High is in those schools. The mold, the asbestos, the mildew, the infestation.
So you think it's a long time coming? Because like I said, we go into school there. You know what I mean? And we was going to school there, it was ran down.
Right. You know so if it's still standing now, what does that tell you? So whenever we have these conversations now, when I immediately got into politics, I was of the mindset that I needed to throw darts at others, to point out their faults. But we already are experiencing that. What people want now is to talk about what's wrong and then formulate collective and comprehensive strategy plans together so that we can address it. So when we leave the meeting, we have our assignments, we have a check back in, and we're following up on the work.
Their to-do list, whatever. And
but if you notice, most meetings me and you go to, there's people getting up and just erupting about what's wrong. Like that serves no purpose.
Yeah, but that doesn't solve anything because we know what's wrong. We all know what's wrong.
We're experiencing it. We're living in it. So the goal should be the goal should be to come together, point out an issue, and then collectively work together to address it and resolve it from start to finish, from Genesis to Revelation.
Because you said you was there for the blueprints was set up and everything.
Yeah.
A because I heard different numbers. I'm saying I heard 180 million, 190 million.
I want to say the principal grant. It's like 155 million altogether.
155 million.
Yeah, it was because I remember it started like 150, but I think it went over. It was a little. We can say 160 to be careful, but I think Principal Grant told me 155. But in that area, that's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
But,
so, but it is state of the art in all aspects.
Cafeteria to the
everything,
to the auto repair, to the STEM civic part of the building.
You know, they brought back the skill, vocation, and trade component. So now you have babies learning that, you know, those areas of development where, again, everybody is not built for college. That's not where everybody's going to go. There are young men I know right now who can take a car apart from start to finish. Well, they need to be fixated on that and being educated in that so they can build a trade, a career, the business.
Their certifications and all that.
All of that, you know. But the biggest piece I find is to find these babies internships with local businesses and companies. So, like, I give you another quick example. My man Knowledge, who has Derek, who has the new cheesesteak spot right there on Perry Street. You know, he also does construction right there where Speckle Red used to be. Right. So he's in there now doing cheesesteaks and things of that nature, right? But he also has a construction business, you know, and I've seen a number of young men over to him, and he's picked them up on internships. So now that they're learning the science, they're learning the business, they're learning, even more importantly, the science and reality of Black manhood. Because you know, now Derek he's a Black man, he's a father, he's a husband. So while they're around him,
the whole structure.
And if you look at our communities, bro, that's a part of why we fail. We can talk about structural institutional racism and how it manifests and impacts,
it starts at home.
Those fundamental groundwork and principles of having Black fathers teaching our babies, teaching our sons, not just through words, ways, and actions, but through daily examples of how to move and operate, that becomes a builder. So Derek down there, he's building builders, you know what I mean? And that's what you need.
That's always one of my arguments too, because, you know, no matter what, you know, it starts from home, man.
Right.
It starts from home, how you raise your children.
It is.
I mean, how you present them to the world. And it builds to them about the world, because ain't nothing out here perfect.
No.
You know what I mean?
But sometimes, you know what we do? We beat ourselves up, right? If your home circumference, or if your home structure, right, is built on somebody who's more of a peer instead of a parent, then you're going to struggle, because you can't teach something you don't know. And a lot of young parents have not been taught, nurtured, and developed in the reality of being a parent. And what I find when I work in the schools in the community, you'll find their babies are they treat their babies like their best friends. And you can't do that. There has to be a distinctive, defining line where I am the parent, I am like, for instance, my father, right, is in his 70s. He says something to me one time.
That's it.
When he's done saying what he said, guess what I say? Yes, sir.
That's right.
Same thing with my mother. You know, those are the lines that have to be drawn, so you always understand, no matter how old you are, your parents are the authority figure, and they need to be respected and revered in that. But again, when they aren't right, then the babies can't be right, and that's something we have to work on as well.
So we gotta. So what's your suggestion? Because like I said, we talk about what I'm saying. We need it at home. We need it in the schools. What I'm saying, as a father yourself, as a Black man in this community in Trenton alone, what I'm saying, what will be the beginning? What I'm saying, because you know we got stuff like this, like Howard Healthy Choices got community centers, I'm saying, culture centers.
Right.
I mean, what would be your suggestion to start rebuilding our community? Because I mean, we need to rebuild it because for two reasons. One, our kids all lost a lot of gun violence out here.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And two, there's a lot of other people coming and buying up our community. So now we don't own anything in our community anymore.
Right. Well, one of the things we need to start out, when I talked about this when I ran for mayor, is we need to have a sincere, consistent investment in our mental health and well-being situation. You know, in terms, why do I say that? Just the other day, young man was shot over 15 times right here at the AMPM.
Yeah, right down the street. Yeah,
right.
Yeah. He was 17 years old.
Right. 2 weeks ago, a couple weeks ago, young man was killed in a laundry.
About the same age. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So
between age of 19.
Now,
17,
when you
19.
look at the atmosphere, right, physically we saw and experienced that, but nobody even acknowledged that. Right. So we've now normalized death, destruction, and our own demise. So am I pointing out that the mayor or the council or the foundation of our democracy? No, I'm saying when wrong happens, right, then those who have been elected to positions of power, control, and influence have to utilize that opportunity to point it out, but also point to solution-based strategies to help us help ourselves. So we need to deal with the mental health reality because many of the people living in our community are traumatized.
I'm glad you brought that up, because like so my last interview before we interviewed you, and it's crazy because one local artist from Trenton named Alert, he saw the interview and everything, and he pulled something off the interview and put it on his CD.
Okay.
I mean,
let me hear it.
Too many people want to be saluted, want to be highlighted. This work is the reality of God. It's the work that you should be doing because God consciousness, righteousness, should be coming to the forefront of the dimension. That's the signs of life.
Young and dad was gone.
Yo, I remember that. Yeah, I remember that. But that was a few years ago.
That was 2 years ago, exactly.
Yeah, so it hasn't changed. And then we were talking about up here. I'll give you a perfect example. Again, the gas station, right? So my man Steve, who runs it. Now they like to talk about shortening his hours and all of that. Nah, when are we going to address the systemic social
why
issues?
can't we have a place to stop where it's open 24 hours?
And strategic wise, even though they're limited on 11 to 7, there needs to be a unit placed right in that parking lot.
Right.
Because you can't, he's one of the few businesses that are open 24/7.
That one, the 7-Eleven down on New York Avenue and a couple other places.
Right. So again, when you talk about all that has occurred there, don't come for him. Let's deal with the law enforcement component. Because you figured the other night, right? If you got a unit sitting there, stationed at the gas station, are they gonna roll up and shoot like that?
Not 2 o'clock in the morning, not.
Right. So we can't say that law enforcement will stop everything, but they certainly are a deterrent.
We have to prevent situations from happening.
But until we deal with the mental health, this is why I love people like Kimmy Carlos who are constantly on the forefront fighting and teaching and educating in these areas. She needs to be a part of the city administration.
Now she's the principal, you said, right?
No, Kimmy Carlos is a beautiful black woman who deals with the organization UMI. Which is Urban Mental Health Alliance.
That's located in Trenton as well.
Right here in Trenton. And that's all she does is deal with the dynamics of mental health, our well-being, the trauma. She actually teaches a course, and this is how powerful it is, where she teaches family members and community members how to be prepared when one of your family members is going through a mental health issue.
Okay.
And I give reference to my man, Kevin Hickenbottom. Remember who we got into it with the cops, ended up getting beaten up and dying from that whole scenario.
Yeah.
Kev was a beautiful brother, but he took medications. And when he wasn't on them, then things happened.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So what if me as Darren Freedom Green, I'm equipped as a family member, friend, or his family can see that his movements aren't not normal.
How to recognize it.
Right. And we're able to talk to him, de-escalate, and get him where he needs to be so we get him back on point. The second piece is we have to learn that you should not call the police when it's a mental health issue.
Right.
Police officers aren't equipped to do that.
They're not trained to handle nothing like that.
Right. And an officer, I'm just being real, he's trying to get home to his family.
Yeah.
When things go left, you know what's going to happen. Yeah. So we need to
first thought is protect itself first, so you're home.
And I'm not faulting them, but when those things happen, we need to have, like we had Kimmy Carlos as a part of the city health, mental, the health and human services component. She could be teaching inside of the wards in the city how to fortify our minds to be technically sound. Not to say we can stop everything, but if we're aware of what's happening with our family members and friends, right, we're more qualified to de-escalate and bring those things down. One of the things I used to always do, and this is how I got a lot of my respect, when I worked as a shift commander in juvenile detention, I constantly fed into the babes. Like when I'm in the jail cells with them and I'm supervising them, I'm always talking to them. Because babies for me are bank accounts. If I'm always putting something in, when I need to withdraw, I have something in there I can get out. So when stuff goes crazy, when situations happens, if I'm only talking to you when things go wrong, I don't have a relationship with you.
No, you don't.
And that's what we have to do here. If we're being educated and empowered by people like Kimmy Carlos, helping us be technically sound to deal with the issue you and I first. As soon as I said mental health, he was like, that's it, right? So now we already know what the issue is. We don't need another forum or panel and all. We need to be dealing with the strategic action plans to address those issues.
So basically, that's first and foremost.
First and foremost.
We know the problem.
Right.
Let's put together a plan to solve these problems.
And empower the people who do that work. Kimmy Carlos does that work. When I came in,
give them financial support. That way they can build.
Put them in position to help the city. She should be empowered by the city to be a city ambassador to do that work. Why? If the city is struggling to move itself forward, you need to understand that nothing will happen until we empower
other major
people.
cities doing that? Besides, like,
across the country, there are people do. Like, so anytime you're looking at,
we're kind of slow on the ball.
Well, we're not only slow on the ball, we're disconnected from the reality we live in. That's why it masters us instead of us mastering it. You got me? So to the second piece, though, you want to keep working on empowering communities. You know, the other piece too is we need to make sure that when we deal with economic development in any capacity, we empower the people who are here. We talk. You asked me about the high school, right? What did you say? How much did it cost, Free? So if we're talking about $155 million, that's 155 million opportunities that should have stayed right here, right? And if you look at the landscape, not just see a lot of things we get into is the union work. Did we do the construction? Now we want in on the blueprints, like even the gate. The gate that was around that school when it first started, I think it cost $180,000 to put up.
I think maintain and all that.
Right. I think a company out of Philly put that gate up. You mean nobody in Trenton could put a gate up?
I know there's a few companies in Trenton.
Right. So again, when we start proposing,
whether black or white,
we want that money to stay right here. When we do construction, we want it right here. We do blueprint right here. One of the things people need to study through history is Maynard Jackson. Right. He was the mayor of Atlanta. Who built
the airport out there.
See, you already know the history. I should have known. But the airport being built changed Atlanta. It changed the whole trajectory of that city. It made it the Black Mecca because now people who were painters, who were culinary, who were.
I think he did what, like he said, you require at least 70% of the construction there be done by local, right? You know what I'm saying, business
which means that money stays where? In Atlanta. Yes. So now a company that has 5 employees with having a bank budget where they could have 15.
Right.
So you're now investing in the people who live in the area. You're responsible. Good government deals with good governance, meaning you know how to apply the laws, the policies, the resolutions that benefit the people. Here, we have conditioned ourselves to electing the same people and then expecting different results. No, that's real.
Like I said, because you ran for mayor.
No doubt.
At one point in time, my brother Devon ran for North Fork Council.
Right.
I mean, not saying y'all can solve every problem, but y'all are voices of the people of the communities. Right. You know what I'm saying? He's from North Trenton.
No doubt.
He knows what that community needs. Like, he lives in North Trenton, right on the boulevard.
Listen,
so he rides down the streets all day long.
Listen, I'm not going to knock, again, the councilwoman that's out there, but when you look at the population that exists in North Trenton, it looks like you and I.
Exactly.
So the leadership should look like you and I. Why? We're of the nuts and bolts and pulse of that community.
Right.
Problem for us is we do a lot of talking, but we don't nurture and develop people who can sit in these seats. So, like, even if we had an election 2 weeks from now, who would you elect? There's no candidate stepping up. Right.
Know that would do the job,
and there's no candidate stepping up who we could say, that person knows city government. That person knows how to operate within the political arena. That person has our best interests at heart. And we can vote for them with confidence that working with them, change and transformation can occur.
Right.
But if you don't have candidates stepping up to build, to work, to live within the community, to shape policies that address our systemic issues and concerns, then you will have the same people running. Because like I said, if it was an election held 2 weeks, you will vote in the same people you've been complaining about.
Yeah, exactly. Because like you said, you don't know the next person to step up.
Right.
You don't know nothing about them.
Right.
You don't know if they will.
And when are they going to show up? If you talk about an election time, what do people do? They wait right till election time to show up and then say, hey, you know me? No, we don't know you. Exactly. Hey, you know what I want to do? No, we don't know what you want to do. So you end up going with what you know, even if what you know is killing you.
Exactly. It's like the drugs and shit like that. I'm saying we played that community. I'm saying in the 80s.
Right.
You know I'm saying now we're going back to the mental health question again because that played a big part.
It's the biggest piece in our city. I mean, my father. Deacon Green, right, from Shiloh, right?
Mm-hmm.
He told me years ago when he was the director of Health and Human Services for the city, he said, son, 1 out of 4 people inside the city of Trenton have some form of mental health or addiction issue. This was years ago. Yeah, go ahead. And the problem was that nobody was addressing it. So when you start talking about an issue that systemically was happening in the 80s, and here we are now in 2019, how deeply rooted and compounding is it? You know, and if you're not addressing it, it's progressively getting worse because situations and problems don't resolve themselves. People have to do that.
So I know this is real time life, so somebody to do it.
That's how we do, man. Listen, it's all good. You know, I host my own radio show, so sitting there talking is what I do. But I think until we address the mental health, the addictions of the people living here in the city of Trenton, we will never have a window of opportunity of building the army. Because again, revitalization for me is never new places that are being built, new buildings being built. No, revitalization is building the people who live in those cities, inside those communities. Because when you build people, you build families. When you build families, you build communities. When you build communities, you build wards. When you build wards, you begin to construct the collective building of the city as a whole. There are 4 sides here, north, east, south, and west. And if we're rebuilding in each ward with such intention, compassion, and effectiveness, which is really what we have to get back to, what leadership is. Leadership isn't about tenure, because we have a whole bunch of tenured leadership. Leadership isn't about notoriety. It isn't about popularity. We have a whole lot of that.
Yeah, popularity is a given. I'm
right.
saying, like,
what leadership is about for me is 2 things. It is the effectiveness of the individual, he or her, to be able to shape and mold policies that address the issues of the people and move those issues to resolution and move the people forward. Second piece, which is never touched on, as a leader, I'm not running around trying to be, and this is no disrespect to Al Sharpton, but the Al Sharpton, like coming in the room and everybody want to hear me speak. No, for me as a leader, my job is to build better leaders than myself.
Right.
In the work that I'm doing, I want to construct people who are 9 times better than me, using their skill set to produce effective leadership in whatever particular area of social development they want.
That's what true leader is.
Right.
I'm saying, putting the skills of other people to work to build, to build what you want to build and making sure it's done correctly. I'm saying? You don't have to be the smartest guy in the room. You just know how to organize things and put it together.
Man, you always say this. If you're the smartest guy in the room, change rooms.
Change rooms.
You know what I mean? And so we're not dealing with, any form of misogyny. If you're the smartest woman in the room, change rooms. Because that's a part of our failure too. We don't address the amazing women who travel this planet and are an essential building block of moving forward. The country's fabric, its DNA, is wrapped in misogynistic rules, laws, and policies. So our women are inherently treated in a substandard manner. Like when we start talking about leadership, we don't even look to women. Like even when people like before, Hillary Clinton had a whole lot of baggage, but we knew she was 9 times better than Trump.
Yeah.
But people would not allow no woman to be the leader of the free world. They would rather go with somebody who they knew was clueless. And now look what you got. So my point in saying that was we've got to always approach things in such a way, if we truly want better, where we give our women an opportunity to lead, to guide, to direct, to move forward. And we as men allow them to do that when they are the best knower of whatever we're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, you have to put them in the forefront at one point, in time or another, because for one, they the population, in general, women is more more than us.
Say it,
you know what I mean? So not only their opinions matters, but their work ethic matters as well.
Oh, no doubt.
I mean, because now you see a lot of strive where a lot of corporations are trying to, empower women in the business world as well.
Oh, no doubt, no doubt. No, that's strategic too, because unfortunately, as men, we've been indoctrinated to think we always need to be at the forefront.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm not married, but if my wife making 120 and I'm making 60, we good.
We good.
Because guess what? We as a family making 180. And we have to learn and understand that society now is directing women to go to the forefront because it plays on men's psychological imbalance of being unable to see themselves as the leader. I'm still the leader of the family, and she's still my wife, But the reality of it is, if she's making more, that's beneficial for our family.
My wife will love this because we say it all the time. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm the king.
Right.
She's the queen, but she's the boss.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean? When it comes to certain things, like, I'm like, what's going on?
Right.
You know what I mean? We got to be dealt
and see, with. You have the humility, right, to understand how essential her being able to do that makes y'all better. A lot of brothers don't do that because they've never been in that situation where they can understand that you're a team, you're a unit, you're a body. So you move together.
I felt at times, not saying the communication wise, we do communicate, but as far as let me build my wife first. Some things like, all right, I can handle this.
Right.
But we got let's go back to the family structure as well, is making that communication work between you
and
that significant other. That way the children sees that. You know what I mean?
Right. I think, let me just say this, that part of that is so many of us have never seen that, so we can't really teach on that. But I would just say to young people out there, and just couples in general, before you jump on Facebook and push the relationship button, take time to build your friendship.
Exactly.
Take time to build with the individual who you're looking to have your prospective mate. Build with them.
Not only that, eliminate Facebook from relationship, period.
Okay.
Because I mean, as far as the button is cool, but as far as we got issues, young people got a tendency to go straight to the friend. Man,
worst thing you could do.
Put that shit to the word down. You got all these people commenting, you know what I mean? This and the third, like you got to stop doing that.
Right, and know what that comes with maturity.
Exactly.
One of the things I teach, and I teach at Kilmer,
different levels though.
It is
our age
still doing it. You know why? Because when they were younger, nobody taught them what we're talking about now.
Exactly.
So as you grow, and this is what we're talking about, whether it be societal issues, political issues, if you've never corrected the problem, it grows worse. It don't get better. So when we're talking about social media, right? What I tell the bear, I said, listen, when you angry, put this down.
Yeah.
Put your phone down, put your computer down. Don't even touch it. Get your mind together, walk off, get your thoughts together, figure out where you're going. Because one of the greatest errors you can do, like think for Antonio Brown. Mm-hmm. Look where he at now. Man, if he hadn't grabbed this when he was angry, he'd probably still be playing. Right. But my point is, in those emotional moments, emotion is energy in motion. So if your energy is in motion in a negative capacity based on the thoughts you're having, put that down. Give yourself a chance to reflect. Right. And you're going to say things like I tell the bear, I said, listen, this thing is a gun. Once you let the bullets get in the chamber, get out the chamber, you can't get it back. You can say you can apologize till the cows come home, but you're never going to be able to get back what you said because now it's in the atmosphere. And as you and I know, it'll be used against you.
As always,
right?
You see, even some actors.
But back to our point, when you're looking at a prospective mate, take your time building a friendship.
Yeah,
you should be able. And here's a jewel my father gave to me. He said, "Listen, when you see a woman you're like or you're liking," he said, you ought to be able to see a part of you in her because that's what's drawing you to her.
Right.
For people out there, young people in relationships, if you look at your mate and you don't see yourself in them, bag up a little bit.
It's crazy you say that because my wife, I grind, I hustle.
No doubt.
I do my thing all over the board from the working, the shows and everything. My wife, she got this, like she works. She kind of like she put in the overtime.
Right. That's part of what drew you to her.
Exactly. Like I'm sitting there grind, like right. I mean, I know if something happened to either one of us, we'd be all right because our work ethic. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I mean, so that's one of the things.
Right.
But other than that,
that drew you to her because you saw yourself in her. That's one component, and then you build on others.
Right.
Like for instance, what does she like doing, or what does he like doing? Whatever it is. You need to be able to find common areas of growth and development. Yeah. Because let me say it, because me and you talk raw. After y'all have sex and you hit your highest point and ecstasy and all of that, you're going to come back down to a normalized reality. Like, now what? You know what I mean?
What's the conversation about?
Right. 31st degree and the 136 ask simple question. Then what happened? So the question becomes, for you after you go through a process of anything, then what happened? Understanding your knowledge, right? Understanding what you just dealt with. Mm-hmm. Now what happens? What kind of culture are you building? What kind of livelihood are you dealing with? So if all you have with an individual, male or female, is physicality, it's not going to last long. Because you need to have you need to have intrigue, conversation, common areas of growth and development, so you can build beyond the bedroom. Because if all you have is the bedroom, it within itself stays within the realm of six, so it's limited.
Only thing coming out is kids,
right?
and a whole bunch of child support.
Right. And I mean, don't get me wrong, that's part of it.
Right.
But it can't be the part of everything you do, because that can't be the foundation you build on. You want to have somebody, when you talk, I tell the babies, listen, when you talk to a young man, young queens, I tell them, I say, you talk to him about your dreams, goals, and aspirations, and he don't meet you halfway, he don't give you insight, he don't give you feedback, you need to bag up. Because now you're seeing that this person may not even be able to handle what you're looking for. Right. Don't make him a bad person, just make him bad for you.
Right, exactly.
You know, so that friendship is essential.
I don't know, that's being taught at home, like you said. Like,
right.
A lot of kids haven't grown up in family homes where there's a mother and a father.
Hey, listen,
I'm saying everybody's their moms or their grandmoms.
Right.
And nowadays sometimes it's the father.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And we need to salute the fathers. You know, we always talk about the single mothers out there, but there are a lot of single fathers out there getting it done. Salute to both. Yeah. And here's another jewel for that. Even if y'all aren't together physically in terms of the union, there's an eternal union you're responsible for
that child.
So you need to put your ego to the side and be able to build with your ex-mate or whatever, and be aligned in such a way that your decision-making process is always what's best for your child. And we have to mature, many of us, in a degree of doing that. I include myself as well.
For those who don't know, and those who are striving to know, it takes time, because now you got to work out of them old habits, like old habits and old ways of life, and old ways of thinking.
Right, and the degree you started with is not the degree you're dealing with now. Exactly. You came together as a union. Okay, so you're no longer together. Your thought process in terms of your former mate should not be one of a negative one. So if you're dealing with them, keep it positive. And if you ain't got nothing positive to say, leave it alone.
Leave it alone, especially for the children.
Right, I mean, because you pour into them that same hatred, vitriol, and you made a point earlier, the babies see that. And what we see, we internalize, we often emulate.
That's why did we go to this, homosexual lifestyle thing now.
That's a whole nother level.
It goes to another level, because you see, the sons and their, just their moms, and they raised by their moms, and the mentality, changes because they focus on what their mom is doing and how, how she living, which can affect a young man in some type of way, because you don't have that father form figure in his life.
It does.
And now
I'll give you a perfect example. My little nephew, Lennon, PG's son. Mm-hmm. His mother, Yolanda's one of the most amazing women I've ever met, right? So she's resilient, courageous, the whole nine. But it's her and her three sisters.
Right.
That's the family nucleus.
Right.
So if I'm not with him, around him, about him, he's shaped and molded in an effeminate atmosphere.
Exactly.
So he's not getting, and I'm not knocking, but when you talk about what shapes and molds and influences, the environment he remains in will definitely influence him. So when I spend time with him, I don't be punching him around and roughing him up. I just teach him the science of black manhood. I teach him the science of the universe, teach him the science of life and reality, so he can look at it. And James Baldwin said
take him to the gym, get it roughed up.
Right. But also so he can look at life, right? And Baldwin says that education, true education, is a tool that empowers people to look at life and think and make decisions for themselves.
Right.
I want him to always be able to be a critical thinker who can look at things, evaluate what's going on, and make the best decision. Because I always say to him, your mother may not be around, your aunts may not be around, Uncle Freedom may not be around. You're going to have to look at things and make a decision for yourself and say, what is best for me right here? You can't be looking around when it's the fourth quarter. You got to make a decision.
Yeah.
And I said, it's something as simple as your peers are leaving school and cutting. You got to say to yourself, is that what I'm supposed to be doing? Don't worry about getting caught. Make a decision on what's best for you.
Exactly.
Your peers go in the store and they stealing. Are you going to be with them? No, you got to make decisions based on what's best for you.
Deal with the consequences.
No doubt.
Your peers don't, because they most of the time they're gone, they running somewhere.
No doubt.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Oh yeah, it can't. Well,
yeah. That's crazy, because this is on my hotspot right here. That is so crazy, brother. It's too much science.
Right. No, there's something to it.
Never had that happen before. And like I said, this laptop ain't even on the regular network.
We might have been pumping too much heat.
And this is Facebook. So
Listen,
yeah.
they might have been like, listen, get them off of there right now. They pumping too much truth.
Why is this fun? So basically, they disconnected my Why is this on there? Should be my hotspot. Yo, I never had nothing like that happen before. Except for last time, actually, I did when Devon was on. It disconnected on me.
Oh yeah, that's that heat. See.
You got to make a decision. And I said, it's something as simple as your peers are leaving school.
Too much heat, yeah.
Let's do this. And then I want to come back with it. Back on YouTube.